Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? I'm Tony G, your host for The Flow Within. Today, joining me is the wonderful Cara Elizabeth, a huge advocate for mental health and a fantastic musician. Cara, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really stoked. We've just been talking a little bit before the show, and it sounds like you have a lot to say. It sounds like that you really are quite involved in the mental health community, and that makes me super excited.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about what you do, about how you kind of advocate for mental health?
Well, right now I'm a community counselor, and I run a music therapy program at Imagine, which is in Lafayette, Colorado. And it's like a garage band class, so sometimes we do garage band stuff, and we mess with like effects and like drum kits and stuff.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. And then other times we'll just like have them request songs, and then they'll be like, hey, I want this song, and I'll sing it for them, or they sing it. Sometimes this one guy has a 12-string guitar, and I'm like, what? You're amazing. How did I not know? His name is David. He's great. But anyways, yeah, like I like to foster communication skills with them. So what I do is I'll be like, hey, what did this song make you feel? Or like, why did you pick this song for your request this week? What emotions come up for you during this song? What memories come up for you? Just so we can get the conversation kind of flowing with them, and so that it can be more like therapeutic for them.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What got you into that?
I don't know. I just started working at Imagine as a community counselor, like in the community, and then they were like, hey, we're switching teachers next semester if you want to be the teacher. And I was like, I am so down, like very down for that. I like teaching music. So I've been a music teacher for maybe a couple years, but not like super, it's just like casually like teaching music, like just chilling and like doing open mics with my students and stuff like that.
That's so cool. Is it mostly like kids, or what are the age ranges like?
Yeah, I had one or two kiddos, and then I had an adult, and right now my only student is Selena, and she's like my age, but we're also like really good friends. Like,
that's so
she's
cool.
really nice. And her dad like gave me all his equipment. Like he gave me a PA.
What?
Yeah, and because she was like, I don't think I'll use it because I'm not like a musician like that gigs. And I was like, I will take it. And she's just amazing. Like she paid me in a PA, like for a lesson. Like what the heck?
I'll take that trade.
Yeah, like what? For real. And she has a really nice Gibson too. I'm really looking forward to buying something like her Gibson, or maybe even a Guild. Yeah, I'm looking forward to like purchasing an electric guitar. That's my next big purchase.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you're mostly an acoustic player for the time being, though. I haven't actually seen you play. I've heard your stuff, but what kind of style would you say that your music is?
My style is like folk indie, I would say, and maybe a little bit of alternative. If you listen to my new single called Rolled Up Dollar Bills, it's more like I recorded that one on an electric not up in Austin, down in Austin, when I was visiting there for a mini tour. So yeah.
That's so cool. What got you into music in the first place? Like what? I mean, let's go way back.
Oh,
when did you start playing music? What inspired you? What brought you into it?
Well, I was a classical pianist when I was 8 years old. And then I was like, this is super boring. And then I was like, I want something that challenges me a little differently, like, or like not as much even. Like it challenged me almost too much, like reading the music and just like, because I'm more of like a creative musician that learns by ear rather than like someone that is like, okay, I'm going to do everything on this sheet music and learn the notes and learn the treble clef and the bass clef. And I'm like, dude, it's like over my head a little bit. I like music theory. I actually love music theory. It has a lot to do with math, which I think I'm good at. And then I'm like good enough at writing, so I write songs as well. Reading is hard for me. But I think with the music theory and the math and then the writing, like that all kind of flows together so that I can become the musician that I am and learn by ear and teach by ear. But I also want to learn and teach like the circle of fifths and like all that jazz.
That's an incredible skill to be able to play and learn by ear.
Yeah, it's kind of hard sometimes.
It is. I really wish that I'd paid more attention to that because I would always cheat. As soon as I heard something cool, I'm like, that's cool. And I'd try for 30 seconds. Then I'd just go, all right, I'm just going to go find the tabs.
Yeah. Oh, I like tabs, actually. Tabs are really chill.
They're pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So did you first really start writing music then? Because you got into music when you were about 8. When did you make the transition to guitar, and when did you start kind of writing as a singer-songwriter?
So when I was around, let me think, 6th grade, I switched over to like alternative and like indie piano, or like, you know what I mean? Like not indie piano. I would say more just like, I would play songs that are more like indie and rock and stuff like that instead of classical. And then I started writing my own songs in 6th grade, and I came out with my first album actually in 8th grade, I think.
Wow, that's incredible.
And some of it's like kind of good. Like I've listened to it like back the other day, like when I was actually visiting Trevor Tom's in Nashville. I was coming back from Florida, and I had the CD, and like I ran out of service at one point on the trip, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna pop my old CD in and like listen to some of my old tunes. And I was like, dang, some of these are kind of good. From when I was like, I don't even know, like in 7th grade, I was like, I saw him on the playground. No, I don't know. Like, I swear that's like what some of it's all about. I'm like, oh no.
It's always funny when you hear songs that you wrote that you probably forget how to play, or forget that you even wrote them.
Same. Yeah. Okay. So I've done that a couple times. I'm like, this is awkward. I don't remember how to play that, because I'd like write it real fast, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, I should have like written down the chord progression and all that. And I'm like, oh no, and then I forget it. But I mean, I could probably just learn it by ear again.
There you go.
If I figured it out. Like, because the muscle memory with music is so pertinent that it's like, once you have the muscle memory, it's like, sometimes I'll be performing and I'm like, oh crap, what's the next chord that I have to play? And then I'm like, nope, my muscle memory's got me, bro. Like, it just goes right to it. I don't even have to remember.
Close your eyes and just let your hands do the work.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about like the music therapy is like, with music, you're always like, you're always like having memories that are attached to like different sounds and stuff like that. So I feel like with the music, when someone is sad, they like listen to a sad song because it reminds them of something sad. But then my client was also telling me the other day, she's like, well, I also listen to happy music when I'm sad so that I can turn my mood around. And she's like, specifically Miley Cyrus, so shout out to Miley Cyrus, which was horrible. The other day we put it on Alexa. I was like, Alexa, turn on Miley Cyrus radio. And then it started like cursing. And I was like, no. I was like, oh my gosh, I have all these clients that are like, I don't even know, so innocent and pure. And I'm like, I don't want these curse words to be playing on the radio. I was like, okay, no more Miley Cyrus radio, but shout out to Miley Cyrus, so it's fine.
I've experienced this before. Have you ever been playing a gig? Because I know that you've played hundreds of gigs, because we're hustling musicians.
Yeah.
Have you ever played a gig and then like come out of a daydream as you're finishing a song and just like be like, whoa, I can't really remember playing that song before?
Yeah, it's almost a flow state. It's like almost like flow state. And then it's like, that's really funny because I actually have a song called Daydreaming.
Nice.
And I always go into a daydream when I'm singing Daydreaming, and I'm really proud of that song because that song is on the Runaways EP, and the Runaways EP is dedicated to mental health awareness, and it's like the most popular one on the Runaways EP. It just reached about 12,000 hits on Spotify.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so
That's
I'm
huge.
like, wow, what the heck? I'm like, how did I do that? I don't even know who's listening to this. I don't know. Because I like go on my Spotify for artists, and I'm like, South Africa. I'm like, what? This is amazing.
That's incredible. You know what? Just build it around the audience that shows up, right? I mean, what if you get famous in South Africa? Well, oh, bummer, you're going to have to go tour in South Africa.
Oh, that would be so sweet, bro.
So what really got you into being such like a mental health advocate? How did you get into becoming a community counselor? What drove you into that?
So I studied psychology in college, and that was part due to my friend passing away from suicide. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want that to ever happen again to any of my friends. And then of course it happened again to another one of my friends. And then that's when I was like, okay, I'm sick of this. I was like, I just don't want to lose another friend. Like, I just want to be an advocate and like push for suicide prevention. So what I ended up doing was I recorded a whole live EP on the radio at KGNU in Boulder. And I dedicated it to suicide prevention, and I talked a little bit about it. And like, I swear, like Dan, the guy that ran the radio show, he was like, I stopped him in his tracks a couple times because it was so powerful. And then I, like kind of was talking about, hey, I'm on the radio right now, bro. Like, if you're listening to me and you hear my voice and you're driving down the highway and you are depressed and you're thinking those thoughts, this is your sign not to do it. Because I could reach a lot of people with my voice, so I want to reach people and make a positive impact and use it for activism and music therapy and all that good stuff.
That's so impressive. I love that. I mean, that's what this whole entire podcast is all about too, is just being an advocate for mental health. So it's just really exciting to have people on here that are just like, let's go.
That's so cool. Let's go.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so delightful whenever I meet like-minded people that just really want to reach out to other people and just be like, hey, it's okay. Like,
oh my gosh. Yeah. I feel like I'm that person for a lot of people, for sure.
that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Is there anything like in particular, I guess, post your friends like committing suicide that really helped push you more into like the field of counseling, or was that just kind of like your main drive?
Well, yeah, my main drive was mainly like the suicide prevention because I worked at a program. I volunteered with like a program for teens. And then later on, I like did some marketing for them while I was doing gigs so that I could pass out like flyers and be like, hey, this is sponsored by Coley's Closet. They're out of Boulder. And then later on, I was like, I kind of want to do, some music therapy with other clients and not just suicide prevention, but like, I feel like anything that's therapeutic will eventually be preventative. So I don't know.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But
do you go to therapy yourself? That's awesome.
I've been in therapy for 9 years. So the whole Runaways EP was written not only about their story but my story, because it says in the lyrics, okay, so it's like, and we thought she was a runaway or something like that, and then it's like, and I asked myself, are we the runaways? And I asked myself, am I the runaway? So it's like everybody's running away from something, so it's relatable. Whether that be like demons that you're fighting in your head, like depression or bipolar or whatever it might be. Like I have bipolar. I've been bipolar for 9 years. So a huge part of my therapeutic process is definitely writing songs about how I'm feeling. And then especially when I'm manic, it can be like kind of nuts because I can be up like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I was up all night writing a song. Literally didn't sleep one wink. And I came out with this beautiful song that my friend wrote the lyrics to called She Is Mad But She Is Magic. And that's a really inspiring one too because it's about mental health as well. Kind of like the Runaways is about mental health. But yeah, so the Runaways EP is like the name of the EP, and then the Runaways is the title track of the EP. And then She Is Mad But She Is Magic is coming out on my next album. Or it might be a single, I don't really know yet. We're gonna see how it sounds. But I'm recording it with Weege, who lives in South Denver, like Parker. And he's a reggae artist. And then Madison Lane is who wrote the lyrics to that song, She Is Mad But She Is Magic. And she lives in Florida because I lived in Florida for a little bit. So, and then I'm going to go visit her in January of 2022, and we're going to talk about like management and stuff because she might become my manager. She's like amazing, but she's also like a ghostwriter. And so is Cass, a ghostwriter. Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, you're talking about your song. I think we might as well just pull it up and play it, right?
Oh yeah, we should.
So what's the name of the song that you had sent us? It's the title track of your EP, right?
Yeah, it's called The Runaways, and it's the title track of the Runaways EP.
Excellent. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So.
Well, you talked about the lyrics earlier.
I did. Yeah, I can talk more about the lyrics if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So, at one point it talks about Annie. So Annie was my friend that I met in boarding school. So I went to a therapeutic boarding school when I was 15. I was sent away because of my bipolar, and they didn't know what the heck medication I should be on. They didn't know what was going on with my diagnosis. So they sent me to a therapeutic boarding school, and I met this girl, Annie. And Annie, I mean, there were several times where other people could have died very easily, but Annie actually did die. And that was after Aisha. Aisha was the first suicide. That was when she was 17, and I was literally in the hospital with her. And then Annie was the second suicide, and she was like, I don't know, maybe like 18 or something, or 16. I don't know how old she was, but she was pretty young. She was super, super depressed because she was very close to her father, and her father passed away. So one of the lyrics in the song is, Annie, take his hand, and then it says, never mind, you wouldn't understand, because it's like, you won't understand, like, Annie's story, and I don't know, like, but I mean, unless I went into it more in the lyrics, but it's kind of like a mystery. It's like, Annie, take his hand, never mind, you wouldn't understand, because it's like, her father died, and I didn't want to say that in the lyrics, obviously, but like, yeah.
Make it a little bit more ambiguous.
Yeah, a little ambiguous.
I mean, that's kind of one of our MOs as an artist, is that lots of times we write about things, but we kind of circle around it instead of just kind of really being direct about exactly what we're trying to say.
Oh, yeah, that's super true. Super true with writing. Like, it makes it more poetic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and give this track a listen.
Okay.
I'm so excited. I'm
Okay.
looking forward to it.
I am standing at the crossroads of what life could have been. I'm not thinking about tomorrow, 'cause tomorrow they would live. So shoot me with an arrow straight through the heart. Trust me, babe, there's a lot of things that can kill us, besides the cigarettes at large. And they asked me, yeah, if she was a runaway. Aren't we all just the runaways? Run away with me now. And he take his hand, never mind, you will understand. Oh, and I'll take my own hand, 'cause I find my body and mind across the inland, across the inland, across the inland, across the inland, across the inland. And it's one of those nights where the moon just haunts the sky, where I sit down right by the crossroads of my life, and they ask me if I was a runaway. I said, babe, aren't we all just the runaways? Run away with me now. And it's take his hand. Never mind, you wouldn't understand. Whoa, yeah. And I take my own hand, 'cause I find my body and mind sometimes cross the inland. To cross the inland. Cross the inland. Cross the inland, cross the inland. And they ask me if we were the runaways. Oh, and we all just the runaways. We lost the girls that lost this world. We are the runaways.
That was great. What a fantastic composition.
Oh, thank you so
I
much.
love the harmonica in there. It was like really nice subtle touch.
Yeah, that's Mad Dog on harmonica. He's really good. And he's like 70, but I don't understand how he like holds that kind of breath for like a 70-year-old man that smokes so much pot. He's like, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, he will go wild on that thing. I'm like, I don't have the lung capacity for that.
Yeah. That's really incredible.
And then Keith Summers was on bass. And then, yeah, to talk about the lyrics a little more.
Yeah.
So when it says Annie take his hand, it's like she's taking his hand in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end it says, we lost the girls that lost this world. We are the runaways. So it's like, I don't know, speak up, reach out. There's always hope, you know what I mean? It's trying to like instill positivity and say like, you know, we're all running away from something. Doesn't matter what it is, but yeah.
How do you think we as a society could do a better job of just reaching out to other people?
I think a lot of people avoid talking about mental health because of the stigma. And they say, you know, oh, like mental health is like someone that's aggressive or somebody that is going to do something terrible. And it's like, sometimes it's just somebody that's really anxious and is having like a hard time breathing. Like, it's not always someone that's aggressive and gonna hurt somebody. Like, I mean, of course that's part of mental illness if you're like a sociopath or something, but like, I don't know. There's a lot of different types of mental illnesses. Like the DSM-5 is like 500 pages long, so there's a lot of different diagnoses out there. Yeah, so I think it's about like, I don't know, just like making it more acceptable to talk about, especially with like men's mental health awareness month. I think that's what this month is, right? Like, especially with men, like we are like, oh, like be tough, like don't show your emotions. And it's like, oh my goodness, it's like, it's okay to cry, bro. Like, we all cry a lot of the time. So, yeah. Unless you're manic. I'm like, I love when I'm manic.
I truly think that is really important. You know, I had never considered therapy myself because I was associated therapy with people who had, you know, real problems is what I was, you know, was kind of the stigma around it and what people believe. But really, therapy just really helps you become a better version of yourself. I mean, everybody can do something to just take better care of themselves, and it doesn't actually mean that you have to be a completely like messed up person. It just means that you just want to talk to somebody to really just work on yourself.
You just want to process like what's going on in your life. It sounds like, you know, and like I don't know, it's just like so helpful. I do like exposure therapy, and then I also do EMDR, which is really cool. Which they do like the cross. I don't know what it does to your brain, but I guess it like rewires your brain. If you have like a trauma, like it'll just calm you down. And then I do like slow breathing techniques with my therapist. She's like so amazing. I've never had a therapist that like good, and she's all on Zoom too. So I'm like, if I even met her in person, if I had a real session with her, dang, she's amazing. Yeah, I'm like, what the heck?
There is such a difference. Because I've done a lot of therapy with the same therapist, both in person and online during COVID. And I definitely noticed that there's a drastic difference when I'm talking to her through my iPad versus when I'm in the room, when I'm sitting across from her.
Oh my gosh,
like
yeah.
this.
I bet it would be more vulnerable if you were in the room.
Definitely.
Like a little harder. Well, I wouldn't say a little harder to open up, but it would just be like more on the spot. I don't know. My therapist is like, she puts me on the spot. Like, she calls me out on my shit, and I'm like, oh.
That's what they're supposed to do, right? I mean,
I'm like, oh, I did that.
I think that's another hard thing, though, that I think a lot of people aren't willing to be called out on their shit yet. And
No.
I think that's another reason why a lot of people are just like, I'm not going to go to therapy because, you know, maybe they realize, maybe they know that they have things they need to work on, but they're not ready for somebody to point them out. And because it is hard.
It is really hard. It's really hard. It's a lot of work. And a lot of the time, I feel like in family dynamics too, like growing up for me, it was like I was the black sheep. So it was like I was the identified patient, and it was like, well, Cara's the one with their problems. And then it was like, but the whole family dynamic needed to shift. And I feel like that happens a lot with families too. With like family therapy, where it's like, and then it's shifted to my brother being the identified patient, with like different substance use problems and stuff like that. And like, it was just like, but I had substance use problems as well. And then, it was like, okay, now we can all go to family therapy and all work on it together. And once we all were in the same room and talked about each individual's like experience and how it related to each other, and how like each person could work on themselves as well, and then like then work on the collective, then it was like the family dynamic got a lot better. And now I'm like, I really get along with my family. So, but like it was not always like that.
That's really powerful.
Yeah,
that's really, really, really cool. I'm just so happy talking to you and just like really getting this out, because it really is such a big thing. And I have so many friends who are kind of in like that contemplative stage where they're just like, maybe I should try therapy, maybe I should try doing this. And I'm just really hoping that one day something just kind of clicks and they take that last step that they need to. And it's just,
I just wish we could do that for everyone and have it be free, and like it's just so expensive. That's like one of the problems, I feel like. But it's honestly like one of the biggest reasons why I'm alive, and the biggest reasons why I'm grateful to be alive. So, yeah.
That is a big issue that also needs to change in the States. Is
oh, I know.
The cost for mental health is insane.
Oh my gosh, I know, and medication too, because like a lot of the time the best like therapy or the best like cure would be like therapy plus medication, especially for like bipolar or like other things, or like personality disorders and stuff like that. Like, but it's just like impossible to afford.
Yeah.
Like what?
It really is a deterrent, but at the same time, like, gosh, it's just so worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
I'm very much like you. I am so happy that I started going to therapy, because things would not be the way that they are right now if I hadn't gone. And I'm just in one of the best places I've ever been in my life. And so it's just like, it's a good feeling to know that of course, I've had to put in the work. It's not like you go
Yeah.
to therapy and magically everything gets better.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to fess up, and you have to really do a lot of intrinsic thinking and a lot of work on yourself. But it's
Wow,
it's
I'm
so
so
amazing.
proud of you for being in like the best place. That's
Thanks.
crazy. Like I always fluctuate. I'm like, wow, I'm doing so good. And then I'm like, oh, I need to work on that one. Oh man.
Well, life, as my guru Sam Harris always says, life is a series of unending complications, right? So I mean, it's not like we're ever going to be in the clear forever and always, but as long as we know, like you and I, we're in the club, we're in the know that when things come across our way, we can work on them and we can overcome them.
We can overcome most things. I mean, it's all about perseverance and what's that word? Resilience.
Resilience?
Yeah, like with trauma,
Yeah.
the main end goal would be like resilience from trauma. Like the more that you have, the more resilient you become.
Mm-hmm. Just getting more thick skin, just being used to
Yeah,
it, being able to combat
exactly.
against it.
Mm-hmm.
That's so huge. So, are you involved in any other parts of the community as far as because I know you do your music therapy with Imagine. So make sure you tell us how we can support them at the end of the show as well.
Sure.
Are you working with any other projects, or do you?
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't
I
you tell us
am.
about
I'm
those?
working with the UUFE, which is in Eugene, Oregon, on an anti-racist curriculum for children. And I used to work at the UUFD, which is in Durango, Colorado, when I was in college, because I went for psychology at Fort Lewis College in Durango. And then I switched over to Eugene, Oregon recently, and I'm just teaching the same curriculum that I already taught the kids in Durango. So now I'm just teaching in Oregon, all on Zoom. And we teach about, we do, My Skin, My Heart. So, maybe our skin is different, but, our hearts are the same. And for the younger kids. And then we do, all sorts of good work. We talk about, this month we talked about cultural appropriation because of Halloween. And that can be, kind of dangerous with costumes and stuff. So I really liked that job. I just feel like it's cool to foster kids' growth in a positive way, and I don't know if that really is related to mental health, but I feel like it might be. I think it is.
I think it's related to societal change, which
Which
is
is
pretty
related.
encompassing.
Yeah, which is the individual versus the society, which is sociology and then psychology.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Are you working on more music as well?
Yeah, I've been writing a ton of stuff. I'm writing mostly on the guitar, but I have written a few songs on the piano, that I might work on, but it depends on the price of how much it'll cost for me to do my EP or my new album, which will be recorded in Durango, Colorado again, because I met James Mirabal. He's the one who mastered my last single. I met him through the same church. So, or I guess it's not even a church, it's a fellowship, because it's more of a spiritual community rather than a church. So I met him through the same fellowship, and he ran the sound at the church, or the fellowship, and then he was like, oh yeah, you can come do your album with me in my bus, because he has a studio in his bus.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do that maybe in the spring, hopefully just once the snow melts, so that my drive isn't treacherous.
So is it in the same kind of line as your other EP, the Runaways? Is it also still very mental health conscious?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't think it's gonna be dedicated necessarily, but I would say that there's always that one track that's the slower one that's more relatable as far as heartbreak, or maybe you're going through something and you're listening to the song and you're okay, that's relatable. I don't know how many songs will be on the album. I have the Runaways EP, which was released in either 2018 or 2019, and then I have my EP or my album Sonic Empath, which means music healer. So that was dedicated to music therapy. So it's meant to be therapeutic, the process of listening to the full album.
Yeah.
So that's the whole process of that, which Sonic Empath was released in 2020. And then Roll Up Dollar Bills is just like a song that I released. It's a single, and that one's more about like breaking your back for $1. Yeah. A lot of people think it's about drugs, but it's not necessarily about drugs, actually. It was more about, like, literally when I would do shows, I would roll up my money, like my cash, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I spent, like, because it takes a lot out of you to be a musician, like, because you have to work pretty much all the time running your own business. It's like, I'm not going to be part of the 9 to 5, and then you run your own business. You work 24 hours a day. You're like, okay. You're like, I'm not part of the 9 to 5. Yeah, you still are part of the 9 to 5 because you have to work a day job. And then you're also running your own business. So you're literally just working all the time.
I know that struggle.
Yeah, for real.
I think I was a little disillusioned when I was like, I'm going to do music full time. And the first 6 months was an incredible struggle.
Oh my gosh, I bet. Yeah, I don't think I could do it quite yet. But if I moved to somewhere big, but if I did do a track with Paris, maybe that would be applicable. But I don't know. Like, I went to boarding school with Paris Jackson, Michael Jackson's daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we used to jam a lot, and she wants me to come do a track with her in LA. So, like, I'm just betting on that. Hopefully that'll give me something on, like, make me more money on Spotify.
Yeah.
Compared to now, it's like Spotify pays me pennies. They're like 30,000 streams here. Here's 17 cents.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty pathetic when you really boil it down.
I know, it's ridiculous.
You think, oh my gosh, like I'm getting tens of thousands of listens, and then you realize that it's worth nothing.
I know, it's so sad.
I know.
But Bandcamp is like where you could support me the most, probably, like for listeners, because my album is on like for sale on Bandcamp, and then you can download it, so you can like actually download it to your computer.
What's your exact Bandcamp URL?
I think it's Cara Elizabeth Music, but you could just search Bandcamp Cara Elizabeth and it should pop up.
That is the best. They have such a great platform. And in fact, during COVID, I know that they boomed because so many people were watching live streams, and then people were just like, oh my gosh, we should really help these musicians out and buy their music.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to NPR, and they had a fantastic interview with the founder of Bandcamp, and it's such a cool platform.
Yeah, it really is. And they donate to a lot of cool programs too. Like, they did something for Juneteenth, I remember, and like some of the funds went to like a program, and then like, I think they also, I don't know, they donate to, like, all these super cool, like, what do you call them, nonprofits and stuff like that, so. And
I know that, I think they have, I don't know if it's one day a month or if it's just every now and then, but they have at least a day a quarter, I think, they completely waive all their fees. So
Fridays.
Is it every Friday?
I think it's like the fourth Friday of the month or something
Fourth Friday of the month, because that's fantastic for the bands, because usually, I mean, and they take a very small percentage. I mean, they take like, what, 10% or something like that?
Yeah, it's not that bad. I've made quite a few sales because, because back in like 20, I don't know what year that was, but like a couple years ago, I had some of my music stolen, actually.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Like, how so?
They like took my music that I sent them. It was like a DJ.
Oh,
and they put it on Spotify, and then they were like, composer, me. And I was like, bro.
That's
so
lame.
I actually raised like $500 to get a lawyer from Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Everyone like on Facebook just like bought my EP or I think it was my EP, yeah, on Bandcamp. And then, yeah, I got a lawyer, Kevin Glickman. He worked with Flo Rida.
Nice.
And he, like, shot him down. He was like, cease and desist. Like, goodbye. We don't want you on Spotify anymore. And I was like, okay, thank God.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it was.
I'm glad it got resolved.
I am too, but I mean, that's part of, like, when you get bigger in music, people just want to take your, I mean, it was kind of flattering.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, like, you like my stuff that much that you want to claim that it's yours. Like, okay. I'm blushing.
But also, fuck you, give me my money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. I was pretty mad.
I can only imagine.
Yep.
So you said that you're going to the studio today.
Yeah.
What are you going to do there?
So I'm working with Alex Blocker. He's a Denver artist. He has like a couple albums out. Like, I don't really know how many albums he has. He has a lot of music on Spotify. You can look him up. But I played Number 38 with him, and then I played like the Rialto Theater in Loveland with him. a couple other venues, but like my mom always says, I love it when you play with Alex Blocker because y'all sound so good together, like y'all like that flow state like that we were talking about earlier, like it's just super natural for me and Blocker. So yeah, so he sent me a track, and then I'm gonna record it tonight and hopefully release that as a single or just like a feature. But Madison Lane, my ghostwriter, actually wrote the lyrics for this one. It's about like a girl that he's like, and she's like sipping wine, and like they're chilling, like him and like Blocker and this girl are like chilling, and then like and then it talks about this other girl, and it's like this other girl helps Blocker get to the other, like the first girl, the initial girl. So like, because the girl from Alaska, it's like this girl from Alaska and then this girl from North Carolina. And then the girls are friends, and then like the girl from North Carolina helps Blocker get to the girl in Alaska.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It was.
There's a whole story behind. I mean, that.
I don't know what happened.
Riveting.
It just was pretty. The imagery just popped up. And
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. It just turned into a story.
That's so cool.
I like storytelling a lot. I think a lot of my songs are about different stories, and I feel like that's like Bob Dylan, like. You know, he's a storyteller. Like any folk artist is really just telling you a story in a song.
Do you draw a lot of those stories kind of from personal experience, or do you like telling stories about other people?
Other people, like I have a story about a witch. I have a story about an alien. I have a story about, you know, like me going through heartbreak. I have stories about me falling in love. I have stories about, you know, my friends that passed, like the one that we listened to. It really just depends on like the time and the place. I get inspired by nature. I get inspired by my mental health a lot too. Like I feel like I can't write a song when I'm either like when I'm just feeling neurotypical. Like I can't write a song and just be like, okay, I'm gonna write a song right now. Like it just happens when I'm either feeling something really intensely, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of my writing as well.
Yeah.
I can't write a good song unless I am in a very specific emotional state.
I know, right?
Or reliving something that maybe has kind of passed and is kind of resurfaced. I think for me, I just think it's more powerful that way too. Because if I can't draw on that, then I'm just like, okay, what can I write about? And then I start looking around outside. I'm like, there's some people walking, and
Same.
you know, and it's just like it's just so
too.
lame. It's just not, the material just isn't like really great. So I'm totally with you. I really need to be in a specific emotional or even just mind state to really write a good song.
Yeah, unless I'm doing improv, then I can kind of sing about like people around me, and I'm like, okay, what rhymes with that? Crap. And then I like have to do it real fast, and I'm like, okay, I got this, and then we do it. But my friend Sunny the Flower, she's like the best improv singer I've ever met. She's amazing. But she taught me how to improv sing. And then I did it a couple of times. Like I have to be like in a very specific like mood in order to do it. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like I can't just like sit down and be like, okay, cool. I have to be like, I'm feeling this way, and this is what I'm going to write about right now.
I think it's important, and I think it really shows in your performance too, especially if you record a song. I think people can really feel that almost through the music. They can feel your emotion.
Yeah, that's what my mom said too, like, and my dad. They're like, yeah, you can like see it on your facial expressions and yada yada. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, am I that expressive? I didn't know. I guess I am, because I work with nonverbal clients, which, reminds me, this is the crazy thing about like working with SPED clients, like special ed clients. Some of them are nonverbal, but they can sing.
Really?
Yeah, like they literally can't speak, but they can sing. And I'm like, how does that work in the brain? I don't know, but that's really dope. I want to research that. But yeah, apparently, like, I don't know. I have like body language that's maybe, I don't know, maybe makes an impact, I guess. I'm working on sign language. I'm learning ASL, so that's pretty cool too.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so wonderful. I'm just so stoked that you're like helping the community.
Too much rock for one hand.
So what else do you have coming up next? You have a new EP coming out. You're going to be recording down in Durango.
In Durango, hopefully in the spring, I'll be recording like either an EP or an album. And then I have like some shows coming up. You can find my shows at well, you can look it up on Reverb Nation. You can also find them on Spotify. If you just search my name, Cara Elizabeth, it'll show up on my Spotify from Songkick. And then, yeah, my Reverb Nation page has my events as well. Just Reverb Nation, www.reverbnation.com/Cara Elizabeth Music. My Facebook page has my events. My Instagram, usually I put them in my bio. Yeah.
And this is all just under Cara Elizabeth, right?
Cara Elizabeth, yeah. And Cara, or on Instagram and Facebook, it's at Cara Elizabeth Music. And then I have an email list as well for like people that don't want to use social media.
That's becoming very prominent these days.
Yeah,
especially.
it's helpful.
I hate getting on social media, and I have to promote my shows, and I'm just like, hey, I'm
I
playing
know.
a show.
I know. And I tell my students, I'm like, honestly, you don't even need to pay me half the time. Like, just come to my shows, because then it shows the business that I can bring people that are going to drink their beer and buy their food and whatnot. So it's like almost more supportive to just come to a show with your family or friends than it is to pay me like $30 or buy me some ciders or something. Like, just come chill and vibe. Yeah.
Well, Cara, in closing, one final question for you.
Okay.
If there was one thing that you wish people would know about you, what would it be?
One thing that I would like people to know about me is that I'm non-binary and I use they, them pronouns.
Perfect.
Cool.
Well, Cara, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been such a pleasure.
This was so cool.
Make sure that you go check out their music on all of the platforms that they mentioned. You've got shows coming up, so go see their shows, listen to their music. I cannot wait for your EP, and I want to have you back because I want you to go more in depth on the songs, on like the aliens and the witches.
I'm
and
so
stuff.
down to come back. This was so amazing. I appreciate you so much. I'm grateful.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here, and thank you for helping to just spread the message of mental health awareness in the community.
course.
It's so huge. You're a champion.
It's so important.
Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tony G, the host of The Flow Within. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We'll see you next time.